so that if they can catch some stuff before it, comes out in a couple of weeks, then it was worth it.
That's smart. Actually, very smart. Like the way you move, bro. Like the way you move.
I appreciate it. Likewise, you've been doing your thing on Instagram or YouTube for a while. I scroll back. I like to see when people started, and you've been on there for 7-8 years. I saw.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You had the foresight. A lot of us didn't. We didn't realize how big our YouTube was going to be 8 years ago.
Now podcast is making its way back.
Yeah.
Funny enough.
Yeah, that's why I do all of my. I highly recommend anybody doing podcasts do them on video because to not take advantage of YouTube is, in my opinion, it's if you could do at the same time the audio and the video, you might as well.
Mm-hmm. I've been thinking about starting a podcast actually.
It's a great way to because for me it's like I like having these conversations anyway. And when else would you really talk to someone, if you're not mentoring with them or coaching with them, unless you just happen to be in the same event somewhere or something like that. When would you really have a half hour, 45-minute, whatever conversation with somebody? So cool. Gives me an excuse to reach out to people like you and just be like, hey, you want to have a good conversation?
Yeah. Cool. That's why the way you come across is very cool. It's not that weirdism, but it ain't super loosey goosey. It's right in the middle. I appreciate that.
I appreciate you saying that. I just let flow out whatever comes out. I'm not thinking about much. That's why these are unscripted. I don't have any predetermined questions or besides
Beautiful.
So.
Beautiful. That's where I get down, bro.
Cool. All right, let's do it. When I introduce you, you go by, when I'm saying your name, you go
Ali.
by, just start with Ali because you have the first initial. So I'll just say
S. Ali Meyer is my name, but when you address me, just Ali.
Perfect. All right, let's do it. All right, recording. Good. All right, hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of Enlightened Conversations. Really excited for today and to introduce you guys to my awesome guest. We have Ali Myers, who is in Columbus, Ohio. You're in Ohio. He's in between Dayton and another city in Ohio. We were just talking about that, so I had a bunch of Ohio cities bouncing around in my head. But excited to flow some great energy with him today. I discovered Ali on Instagram just a few weeks ago and reached out to him, saw what he was doing, and then discovered that he has been very active, posting very inspirational videos on YouTube for years and years now. And Ali is a spiritual teacher and just all around awesome human being. And we're going to have a great conversation here today. So without further ado, for me, I want to introduce you guys to Ali. And if you can share with the audience so they're more familiar with you, who you are, what you do, why you do it, all that good stuff.
All right, cool. No problem. First off, I appreciate the opportunity to come on your platform and exchange energy with you. My name is Ali. I would consider myself a spiritual teacher, and I use quotes. To be honest, I'm not really big on labels, but in order to articulate what you do, I know it's probably smart to use a label. So if I had to label myself, it'd be spiritual teacher. The way I like to teach, I teach about self-God realization and self-mastery. That's what I practice and that's what I teach with my audience. The main platform I like to use is YouTube. I think that's probably the best platform in order to get information across. I also do a membership program called the Spiritual Master Accelerator, where I have people from all around the world. We come together, 3 live webcasts every month, and we get together. It's just a safe haven for people that are working on spiritual mastery. Also, in addition to that, I have an online store with my partner, son Sarah, where we sell metaphysical items, also some homemade items as well. She makes a bunch of soaps and magic oils and stuff like that. That's L9 Shop, EL9shop.com. And I'm just active, social media, Instagram, and just doing my best to share the information that's worked for me. That's all I do.
I love it. You inspired me to ask you a couple of things, but before I ask, I see a towel behind me. You guys live are gonna laugh, but I don't know. I never have anything. I just jumped out the shower, had a towel behind me. You guys won't know this when the recording comes out. They'll have no idea, but for you guys live, I'm like, that's not gonna be in the background the whole time. But no, I appreciate you just highlighting that because really for me, when I finding people to collaborate with and inspired to talk with. You could tell that people have, they become aware of, who they truly are and are just excitedly sharing that with their audience and the people that are attracted to the things you're sharing. I'm always curious, like how the light bulb comes on for people, because what I know is when we come here from non-physical, we're just these unconditional, loving little babies, and then for most of us, we forget along the way and start comparing ourselves and wondering if we're enough. And everybody has a different journey when it comes to that. But for you, did you just go from unconditional, loving little baby to evolving, and never forgot who you were, or did you have the light bulb switch on at some point?
To be honest, I had a very, very supernatural, you can call it, experience when I was approximately about 6, 7 years old, where I had visitations from angels. And at that point, I didn't know what they were. Never, growing up in church, formal church as my background, before I got into the metaphysics and the occult. But just growing up in church, I didn't have any comprehension of what angels were. It was till I got older where I looked back, because I used to call them cherubs, because they were brown and they looked exactly like cherubs. But that experience at a young age, and when I got older, it was something for my mind to tether to. I remember, I couldn't forget that. It was a most beautiful experience, and it's also scary when you experience something like that as a child. So when I got older, fast forward, I'm going to make this real quick. My oldest son, he was diagnosed with atopic dermatitis, which is commonly called eczema. His mother and him went to the doctor, and long story short, the doctor basically was like, there's nothing I could do. You have to deal with it. He had these spots on his skin that were just, it hurt to watch my son go through this, and his skin was all just messed up and everything. Something in my spirit told me there was something I could do. I came across a brother by the name of Tahuti Ma'atra. He was with a website, I can't think of the name, or actually I can think of the name, but he's not with that website any longer, so I don't want to mention it. But I went and I researched, and he said that any skin condition is a blood condition, based on mucus and stuff like that. So, long story short, me and my son went on the juice fast. And I stuck with it, changed our diet, and I slowly started seeing his skin dissipate. Even took pictures before and after, and literally his skin cleared up. That was one of my light bulb moments that let me know there was more in this reality than what we've been told. I was like, why didn't the doctors tell me this? Why didn't someone tell me this? So that led me down the rabbit hole of conspiracy. What else am I being lied about? I went through the channel of conspiracies and researching that hard body from when I woke up to when I went to sleep for probably about a year or so. Then one day I was at my laptop and I clearly heard the spirit tell me, you can continue to research all these things you can't do anything about, or you can use the information to change your life for the better. That's all I needed. From that point on, I started applying some of the things I was reading, magic, working with altars. That led me to finding who I consider my true and first spiritual teacher, Dr. Mitchell Gibson of Tybro.com. Also, Brother Panic of OccultLectures.com. Those two individuals, even though remotely, they helped me go deeper within myself. And then, to fast forward a little bit more, after obtaining all this information, at this point, I had a bunch of supernatural experiences. I clearly heard the spirit tell me again, my cup felt like it was full. Felt like I couldn't learn. I literally felt like I couldn't learn anything else. And I heard clearly that it was time for me to share. That's when I started a YouTube channel. Not the YouTube channel that most people are familiar with. I had a YouTube channel before that I started and shared information. Also went on to Blog Talk Radio and did a podcast. Me and my cousin, biological cousin, Orlando Moore, we started a podcast called Mind Right Radio, which became popular, over the past few years. But that was my springboard into teaching some of the things I've learned.
Super interesting. Ali just highlighted a couple of things that I love. When anybody out there, when you have I just call it the light bulb moment, but you can call it anything you want. But once we become aware that there's more going on than what we know, than what we can see, and we become interested and curious about, what that looks like, and stuff starts coming into our path. We start, doing searches, and you just you just never know the different things that you become aware of, and it's just never ending process. And I can totally relate with what Ali said. I have some moments where there was times in my life where I had personal growth stuff on in my ears, like headphones, for so much of the day. I was like, there's no way a human on the planet is like filling himself up more than me. Like it could be a tie, but you'd have to have, because I'd be taking phone calls, business calls, and having personal development in my ears. I got a pillow that had that started playing personal growth out the pillow. Well, so because I heard that it could go into my mind while I was sleeping. So I'm not saying you guys have to go that route out there, but I'm just saying once we become open to becoming aware of some of these things, it's just a never ending process. And then to share it, I feel the same way. Like it got to a point where it's like I didn't feel at peace knowing that tomorrow's not promised. If I didn't share any of this stuff that had impacted my life, then what if all the authors and all the teachers that came before us didn't, share anything? And we just have to all learn from life experience, which we can, but it's a longer process. So no, I appreciate that. So now you've been doing YouTube for a while, have thousands of people that you're impacting, just in your followers, and I'm sure it's expanded to hundreds of thousands or even millions of people now with the internet. What are you excited about right now? Like, what's your main focus? Here we're recording this April 2020. What's your main focus these days?
To be honest, like I don't consider myself like I said, I use the term spiritual teacher. I really don't consider myself any different than any human being. Once you get to a certain level of spiritual maturity, you realize that everything is one. I think they call it non-duality or singularity or something like that. And people like to prolificate about it and speak about it, but you don't find too many humans live in that. What I've noticed is even spiritual people are very ego-centered. So what I do my best to do is minimize my ego and realize that I'm no different and I'm only as strong as the weakest person in humanity. So with that, the most thing I try to do now is just inspire people to be their own master. What I noticed when I stopped listening to humans, stopped listening to teachers, stopped following people, and started following myself, that expedited my own mastery within myself. That expedited my own light within myself. I like to quote the movie The Last Dragon with Bruce Leroy. Throughout that movie, his master sent him on a journey to find a master, his own guru. And he went in all these external places, and after so long went back to his master like, I haven't found a master. And his master said, you haven't looked in one place, and pointed in his head. And it was at that time where he realized he didn't look within to see that own master and guru. So I don't want to be the kind of person where people are following me for years and like, oh, Ali's my master teacher, all that. If I inspire someone to go deep within themselves, they're going to find that master and that light within. And I feel like more humans that become self-God realize we won't have so many sheeple and so many people being subjected by a system that doesn't best serve them. So long story short, to make that summary in one sentence, I just want to inspire people to be their own master and guru.
I love it. You just inspired me so much. I love sharing this with the audience when I'm getting ready to share. Like what Ali just highlighted is, what is true for all of us. Like all of us, even though we look at each other and like you see Ali and you see Noel and you see whoever you're looking at in the mirror, and we all have our different names that we were given, by our parents, or maybe we've changed along the way, whatever it might be. But this is just the physical expression of who all of us truly are, the non-physical energy that all of us truly are. That is the reason that our hearts work the way, our minds work the way, the planets orbit, the way nature flows. Like it's all created with this non-physical energy. Some might call it God, universe, love, all that is, source, spirit, infinite intelligence, whatever you want to call it out there. But that's we're just different expressions of it here in the physical. So we look at each other and our eyes see that we're separate or we're different individuals. But we're just different physical expressions of the same non-physical energy, like different waves in the same ocean is my favorite analogy to use. So when we can realize that, we can do what Ali said and just realize that there's nobody out there that's any better or worse than us. Like we're all just different expressions. And so we can have the confidence to know if you're looking at a human being and you're like, wow, they're doing some awesome things in this world, that's just a reflection of you. That's just a different expression of you. They're just using the same energy that we are in a different way, and you get to go choose how you want to use it and express it as well. But you can do all the same things or different things as any human that you see. So I love that you point that out, because I'm the same way. I don't want anyone to think that they're better or worse than me or anyone else, because we're all just different expressions of the same non-physical stuff. So that's beautifully said. Absolutely, absolutely. No, I love that. So, question I always love to ask with the things that you become aware of, because this is what's always interesting to me. Because a lot of times I have tons of these conversations with people all over the world, and they're fun for me because I'm hearing things that are just expressed differently with different examples and different stories. And you've already been doing that here in this episode. What are some of the things that you just want people to become aware of so that they can have light bulbs turn on for them as far as who they truly are, or some of the main principles that you like to make sure that people are aware of, that some truths that you share?
With us coming out of the information age, or many might say we're still in the information age, information from my observation is a trap for most people. They get so boggled down in just rhetoric and just parroting things that they read, and they feel like the information is enlightenment. And one of the things I challenge people that listen to me to do is apply the information. Once you apply the information, you don't need as many books as you think you need. I say my favorite book is the Akashic Record. The book of your soul is going to be way more beneficial than all the books on your bookshelf. Another example is, it's best to meditate for 20 minutes than to read 20 books on meditation. But applied knowledge is true power. Just reading and watching YouTube, that's not going to get most people to where they think they want to get to. So I think that's one of the takeaways, that, a tangible something I can do while watching this podcast or listening to it is actually applying the information. I'm not saying anything that someone else hasn't said, but until you really challenge yourself, because it's very easy to just veg out on YouTube, put on Netflix, watch documentaries. And as a studious individual myself, for the first part of my path, that's all I did was an information consumer. But like I said, once I applied the information, that's when I started seeing my light grow, started building spiritual confidence, spiritual maturity, and I was able to articulate things from my own mind as opposed to parroting something someone else said. One of the things that, as far as the ego Ali is known for, is ancestor altars. If you go on Google and go on YouTube and put ancestor altars, you'll be hard pressed to find anyone with more views and more clicks as far as videos and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that braggadocious. I'm saying that to say that it was my spirit that told me to share the information. And by doing that, because it wasn't too many people doing it. And by doing that, now there's a lot of people talking about the altar work. I get so much correspondence, people telling me, man, the altar really changed my life. But if I didn't challenge my ego and challenge my spirit to be like, I need to put this out, going against the grain, knowing that people are going to look at it like, okay, you shouldn't be doing that. That's what my spirit was telling me, to put that information out, because that's what I was doing. That's what I was living. So I was only sharing what I was doing and not being in the closet with it. But it's stuff like that. Once you become comfortable with who you are, I like to say spiritual maturity. Once you get to that level, you'll be able to share things, and you don't care what other people think. At this point, I don't care about a human's opinion as long as I know I'm right and divine with my higher self.
That's a powerful place for any of us to be at, and we can choose to be there. And the caring about what other people think. As I get older and older, I'm just get more and more open about the things that I'm sharing, and these podcasts give me a great excuse to bring different people on from just different walks of life, and we're talking about everything. I just had a conversation 2 hours ago about the young lady was a sacred sex and everlasting love coach, and it was just awesome, like what we were flowing. We just flow some really cool energy. I love what you're saying, and you mentioned in there the power of the applied, knowledge, which you mentioned meditation as an example. That specific example changed. I'd be curious to know what your views are, because I'm positive that you have some sort of meditation practice just from how you just spoke that. Part of life changed my life dramatically. Like it was started with guided meditations, because I was one of those, which a lot of people are, that's saying I can't meditate. It's too hard for me to quiet my mind and all these. That was me for sure. So it took like actual guided meditations, and then I'm going to a meditation retreat where by the end of it, it was like we were doing like 4-hour meditations, which for me, these days, like I'll meditate in the morning. I get up, use the bathroom, drink some water, and then I'll meditate with the only intention of just being connected. I just want to be connected with my higher self. I just want to feel that energy, even if that's just me feeling at peace. And once I know I'm there, then I can start my day, because I like to start from that frequency. So that means if I have a download pop into my mind, something I'm really excited about, I'm like, oh, I know where that came from. Like that didn't come from my ego. That came from I'm connected. So now I can start the day with that, write it down, and get going. So I don't do 4-hour meditation or anything like that. Nothing wrong with that. I think it's awesome if anybody out there is inspired for that.
No doubt.
But I'm curious to know, because I know it's always helpful whenever I talk about meditation on here for people, because it seems like a lot of the guests, if not all of them, have some sort of practice, even if it's not traditional, even if they're just going out in nature or whatever it is.
All the powerful people in this dimension, they meditate now. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if they're actors, athletes, you know what I mean, movie stars. There's so many people that know the power of meditation. Quantum physics, science, they've all backed it up. There's benefits to meditating. I'm sure if you go to Google and put in benefits of meditation, you'll see various sources where they've done studies showing the impact of it. Combine that with the ancients always speaking about meditation, esoteric schools of thought always referencing meditation. It's safe to say meditation is a powerful thing. Where I feel like most people get challenged is to how to meditate. And listening to people tell them that, no, you need to do it this way, or you need to do it that way. Like you said, if you don't meditate for 4 hours, you're not doing it correctly. You're not going deep enough. What I noticed with me, when I first started meditating, and this is common amongst most people, they have the monkey mind. Just a mind chatter all over the place, and they feel like they're not really relaxing. It becomes more strenuous to meditate. But I noticed that the more I started doing it, the more I started meditating, the quieter that monkey mind got. To the point now where I go into meditation, which I'll talk about my exact technique. I don't meditate in a traditional way. So your third eye is blinking, bro. You're on the sound. Like, I do not meditate in a traditional way. But now when I go into meditation, I don't deal with the monkey mind. Whatever I focus on, if I want to focus on something, that's what I focus on. I get clear insight into that. If I don't want to focus, I'm going to get clear insight into just calmness. You know, I use a technique called scrying, SCRYING, and I use a crystal ball and a candle. If you go into my YouTube and put in candle scrying, I actually teach part of my technique on there, so you can access that for free if you're watching or listening. But scrying is, it was told to me by Dr. Gibson, who's an enlightened master, and according to him, my last lifetime, I was a monk, where I studied Buddhism and Taoism. And one of the things I used to use was crystal scrying. So to be honest, my ego resisted that for a while, because I was like, man, I'm not going to do that. You know, I wanted to do it, but my spirit didn't allow me to do it. But once I started boggling down and focusing on that, that's when my consciousness started expanding more. We realize on this path that we have certain level up. You do something, you level up. You do something else, you level up. And the time is irrelevant. It just, we have this leveling up. That's the best way I can call it. Once I started committing to scrying, and specifically candle scrying with a crystal ball, my mind and consciousness just started to expand. I had a very specific experience I shared. It might challenge a lot of people. But when I first started scrying, when I was like, you know what, I'm about to focus on that and commit to this. True story. I want to say 15 minutes within me scrying, a being came out of the candle. Literally a being just slowly started coming out of the candle and forming, where I seen the head, eyes, and everything. I literally went like this, rubbing my eyes, like, you know what I mean? Like, looking like, is that real? You know what I'm saying? And I've had many experiences prior to that, but still, to have that happen, it was beautiful. At that point, I wasn't scrying anymore. I sat back and just smiled. But it was later revealed to me spiritually that that was my primordial self. Myself that was before any incarnations or whatever. So what I noticed with me is I always usually have a big experience when I start a new spiritual practice or get a whole different mindset. In this way, my higher self lets me know that I'm on a quote-unquote right path. So scrying is one of the things I do, and it's also beneficial if you don't like traditionally meditating and closing your eyes, sitting with your back straight, even humming or something like that. It's a way of meditating with your eyes open. Go into a dark room and just focus on a candle. It's a beautiful form of meditation, in my humble opinion.
Wow, that's I'm personally going to go look at that video on your YouTube page. That's very interesting. This is what I love about life, Ali, is there's just so many things that right before we didn't even know that this was a possibility or that this existed. And then all of a sudden, like, we have a new awareness. And I love how you mentioned the quote unquote right path. Synchronistically, 5 minutes before we started this recording, I just posted a video on Instagram, which was my last podcast that I just released today. And the title was, here's how you know you're on the quote unquote right path.
Wow.
And the right path is in quotes, just like you said. So literally, yeah. So that's
kindred spirits, bro. Kindred spirits. I recognize, like, when you came across, like, I'm at the point now, and I don't really talk about it too often publicly. I talk a little bit more about it within my membership, because I understand that when you speak like in certain terms, it can rub people off the wrong way. But I have a good level of spiritual insight. You call it psychic, intuitive, or anything like that. So when you came across my inbox, I don't say yes to just anything. It has to be a resonant. God, I'm not moved by money. I'm not moved by fame. I'm not moved by popularity and clicks and all that weird stuff. I'm moved by spirit. You know, so when you came across, there was some energy I recognized within you. And when you have that, and there's many people you come across in your path like that, you know, I'm sure you've recognized that at this point. Like, okay, we're kindred souls. You know, we spent some sort of time together in previous lives or whatever. So when I see that, it's very easy for me to be, okay, I'm going to either, quote unquote, get along with this person, or we have, you know, some work to do, whether big or small, like a podcast, you know. So that's where the resonance and usually synchronicities give you that confirmation that there's some sort of soul resonance.
Absolutely. That I love what you said. I call them just little winks from the universe, like, just in case you were, just in case you weren't 100% certain. Here's some extra confirmation for you.
Winks from the universe. I like that.
And I appreciate what you just shared, and I'm reflecting that back to you, because there wasn't like a long deliberation period before I reached out to Ali. Like, I came across his page. Like, maybe once a month, I'll be inspired to just see who's out there in the world sharing light, and I just, you go on the little click journey and see who's, different hashtags, and maybe I put in spiritual teacher. I don't know how exactly it came, probably spiritual teacher that day. And so here you come on my screen. I'm like, who's this human that I didn't know existed 1 second previous? And then within probably a second after that, after I see the things that he's sharing, he had a voice message from me, and whatever just came out, which, thank goodness for the voice messages. I'm not one to be typing out long messages. Like, people don't know whether I'm me. Like, I just will speak whatever come out, whatever flows out. That's what one take, it's 1 minute, so we get 1 minute of whatever comes out.
And what's crazy about that is, I'm big on guarding my energy. So one of the ways I guard my energy is I don't really read direct messages, and you notice I don't reply and respond and do all that stuff, because that consumes your energy. Now, I tell people, if you look at my inbox, Facebook message, direct message, it's draining. Some of the questions you get, and, no offense to anyone sending a question, they're usually things that really aren't that serious, not to minimize it, but kind of minimizing it. So my point is, I don't even usually check my messages for it, but that's another sign that something was supposed to be done, because I clicked on it and was like, oh, okay, yeah, you know what I mean? Let's do it.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate that. No, it's awesome conversation so far. Well, you've been doing it the whole time, Ali. The question that I love asking people, because the internet, as far as we know, is going to live on for quite some time. So it fascinates me that conversations like this, someone could be browsing around, and they'll probably be doing it a different way. They probably won't even need these basic computers that we have now, or the phones. They might, who knows how they'll be experiencing it, but 50 years from now, like, they could be watching this episode or listening to this episode. So you've been doing it the whole time, but I'm always curious, anything that you want to share with anyone listening, with humanity, anytime they hear this, that you feel will make an impact. You've been doing it the whole time. So we could easily say, refer to the rest of the conversation, but anything that flows out.
I mean, like, with anything, I mean, I have my own perspectives on a lot of things. And I'm also naturally very opinionated. And I'm a natural observer. I like to call myself an observer of humanity. To be honest, this is one of the best times to be a conscious observer of humanity. When things are quote unquote bad, you know what I mean? I'm using that term just for lack of better words. I don't consider nothing purely good or nothing purely bad. But I know right now a lot of people consider this is a bad time or this is horrific or whatever. It's the best time to watch humans and how they act, you know? So what I would tell people, I would challenge people in the present and in the future. If you're watching this in the future, it is your present. Is the quicker you can look at everybody as a reflections of you, the quicker you can get to getting past that. This is good. This is bad. This is black. This is white. This is gay. This is straight. This is up. This is down. This is a blessing. This is detrimental. The quicker you can get from duality thinking, the quicker you can get from separation. That's why regardless of what religion you practice, what spiritual sect that you follow, it's called the one. Why is it called the one? Because there is nothing beyond the one. It's just there. When you have two is when you have an opposing part, and that's when you can combat each other. But it's hard to fight when you're just one. If I recognize Noel as me, I would never fight him. You feel me? I met an elder yesterday. I went to my mom's house. I had to do some work for her. And it was a gentleman lived across the street. And mind you, my mom's lived at this crib for years. Never seen this gentleman before. I hop out my car, and the elder was like, "Hotep, brother, Hotep." So I'm like, okay, he was a key, you know what I mean? He was a keywords. He's saying Hotep, so I'm already knowing that he's on to something. So long story short, I ended up chopping it up with him for about 35, 40 minutes. You know, he was just going on and on about, you know, just religion and spirituality and, you know, the plight of the so-called melanated people. He was just going in, and you can tell he had a certain level of consciousness. To be honest, a lot of things were, how can I say this, more from a rhetoric of militants and wanting to change things and fight an enemy that really isn't an enemy, and a lot of anger there. But not once did I disagree with him. Not once did I challenge his thinking. Not once did I did anything to let him know that I opposed him. Because I'm big on not arguing with anyone. That person is at a certain level of overstanding at this point. It doesn't matter if he's my elder, but he still is at a certain level of overstanding. And I noticed that a lot of people are always trying to challenge somebody. Okay, I see that, my brother, but have you looked at it like this? What about just receiving what he's saying, even if it doesn't meshes with what you're dealing with, but just building and seeing him as one? Because to be honest, he was a younger version of me, even though he was older. So if I was to combat him and argue and do all this stuff, all we're doing is fighting with myself. So I don't know if that was kind of long-winded, but my whole point is 5 years ago, Ali probably wouldn't have done that. I would have had to prove to him that I'm out here, I'm teaching the babies, I'm doing all this work or whatever. But right now, being 43 years old, comfortable in my spiritual maturity, I can exchange energy with anyone. I don't care if you're 8, I don't care who you are. You know, my only rule is just don't touch me. You touch me, then that's my ego. I'm going to have to react to protect my physical being. But you can use words, say whatever you want to, disagree, argue, but I'm not going to argue with you. So I'm sharing that to say, it's my will that everyone gets to the spot where they see everybody as a reflection of themselves and we see everything as one. That's how we're going to go from 3D thinking, 4D thinking to what they call the fifth dimension. That is one. There's no polarity and duality in one. We need to get to that spot of singularity, in my opinion.
Wow. You guys rewind that. When this is posted, if you're watching this live, rewind that and listen to what Ali just shared on that last part. And if you're watching this when it's already out, listen to that segment again. That's very, very important and very powerful. And I agree wholeheartedly in everything that you said. And here's what I've noticed about life, Ali, which it helps so much for me, because when I leave the house, or just how I live my day, the reason that we talked about like meditation and why that's so important to me is because if my frequency is connected, if I know I'm being who I truly am, who we all truly are, if I can really trust my frequency, my vibration, then I know that I'm going to respond the way that you responded to that elder. in the same way with compassion and with love. Like I don't need to, my ego doesn't need to get involved and be like, well, let me share here these things. Like that's not me being connected, in those moments. So that's the reason I start the day that way, because I can feel it when my frequency leaves that place, and I'm human as well. So it's a big difference between being, at peace or anything that has a higher momentum than that, where I'm excited, I'm passionate, I'm being loved, I'm blissed out, whatever it is, whatever you want to call it. But there's a big difference between that and being like frustrated or critical of someone, or judging someone, or blaming someone. That energy that's way different. Like it just, you can feel that in every core of our body. So just knowing that, and knowing that the only way that I'm going to speak, or the thoughts that I'm going to receive, when we talk about channeling, the only thoughts that I'm going to receive is going to be from the frequency that I'm in right now in this moment. So if I'm in a condemning place, if I could be aware of it, then I really don't need to be saying anything to this person or myself, because now I have to circle back and be like, what, I was, and that's when so I love what you said, because, for me, if I know that I'm connected, like I would respond the exact same way. I've had some beautiful conversations with people of all ages, and it's just so interesting because I'm looking at them through the eyes of, they're just a different expression of me, and they're just seeing the world through a different lens, and they're just at a different place right now in their soul's journey, and it's all good, So I love it. That's awesome reminder for all of us.
True indeed, bro.
Yeah.
True indeed. And what I wanted to share with y'all, though, I didn't start out like this. No. You know what I'm saying? It didn't start out like this, but that's why I said when you really go deeper within yourself, and you turn all the external things, literally go deep within yourself, you understand, what? You have weaknesses and you have strengths. And some weaknesses you're not going to be able to turn into a strength. The most successful people, they don't worry about their weakness. They commission someone else to take care of it. If they're a business owner and they're not good at marketing, they'll get a marketing director, a marketing supervisor. They're not going to go study and learn about marketing. But I share that to say I'm at a point where I know my strength and I know my weaknesses or whatever. But I know that the only enemy, and it's cliche, is the inner me. Like, I literally do not have any enemies. I'll share a story real quick. There was a guy that, I want to say, I'm not good with linear time, but this was maybe 10 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. Without getting too deep within it, he pepper sprayed. It was a neighbor of mine, and he pepper sprayed. And to be honest, I've never been pepper sprayed by a cop. And to have someone that looked like me pepper spray me, I was furious. And I remember sitting in my duplex, and every time I thought about him, I started shaking. I started shaking and trembling. I really wanted to hurt him, and I'm just being quite frank, quite honest. Once again, I heard the spirit tell me I have to forgive him. And I remember like, man, I got to forgive, you know what I'm saying? And literally when I forgave him, in my heart, I said, I'll forgive him. Not tell him to his face. I was like, I forgive him. And I remember this weight just came off of me. When I want to say maybe less than a week later, I had a cousin hit me up who asked me to go to a wedding reception. Something I normally wouldn't go to. And he had to kind of convince me, like, no, cuz, you need to go to this wedding reception. You know what I'm saying? Like, really talking me into it. And it's a cuz I have much respect for. So I went to a wedding reception, and guess who was there? The guy that pepper sprayed. Seen him, walked right over to him and said, bro, I forgive you. He didn't say I'm sorry. I said, I forgive you. And from that point, like, I've seen him a few other times, and my spirit, my energy is good. Do I want to be best of friends with him? No. But I can see him. He even said what up to me. Hey, what's up, bro? And I just keep it moving. But I don't, and to be honest, I'm a big dude. You know what I mean? I grew up fighting, doing things or whatever, so it wouldn't be too much for me to get physical with him. But still, I'm able to deal with it, be at peace, and not have that energy of, you're my enemy, I don't like you, I want to hurt you, come about. And this isn't rhetoric, this is something that's real. But forgiveness is big. So I wanted to share that story because I don't have any enemies, whether I know them, the system, no one's my enemy. The only enemy, the one you can fight, is the one within, the one you look in the mirror at. Once you conquer that enemy, you will have no people that you want to harm or whatever, and no one else can harm you.
Absolutely. I love that you brought that up. That's such a big one. Like the weight that Ali described being, gone from him when he was able to release that he was holding on to. That's so big because really, I mean, that person probably wasn't even thinking. Like the only person that's really feeling the weight is us in those situations. Like he probably wasn't even thinking about it that much, as much as So I could totally relate to that. And when you can just release it, just knowing that we're the ones that are taking the damage internally when we have all this heaviness on, and we're still thinking about people or situations or things in the government or anything that outside of us that we're thinking is the reason that we're upset or we feel this way. If we can get to the point where we can release it, however we need to do it, it's so important. And I love that you mentioned before you shared that story as far as parts of our life that that you weren't always this way. Like I take every chance I get now to let people know like what my evolution has looked like, and it's actually interesting. Like how I say it is because you mentioned how your weaknesses may not turn into your strengths. There's definitely parts of my life that I know that I'm probably not going to focus enough on to make it a strength. But this area of being, because I'm a competitive athlete, like when I was a kid, like just grew up playing competitive sports in the inner city. We were always talking trash to each other, like.
Yeah,
that was just my vibe, and it just seemed normal. I mean, anybody from the outside would hear us talking, and like, do they even like each other? Or are they really going to fight? Like that's just how we grew up. And so becoming an adult with that mentality, like my mind would switch to being critical. And I'm thankful that I was never really someone that would just like verbally like assault people. Just like I've never had that vibe. But it doesn't even matter if like in your mind every chance you get, like you're talking trash. And if it did go to verbal or anything further, like it could just happen so quick. Like it was just when like Drake's lyrics go to 0 to 100 real quick. Like that was me. It was just way too fast. So it's tough to maintain a frequency that you enjoy being in the world in if you can move so fast from being in a good mood to all of a sudden like being critical and ready to be combative. So I had to ask the universe, like this was a blind spot for me. I didn't even realize that it was so much of a weakness. It was just something I was used to, and through meditation, I actually asked the universe to show me blind spots that were affecting my life, and that was the one. It didn't take long. It was like a few meditations, and I started paying attention. Like during the day, like after I meditated in the morning, I pay attention, and then I start seeing myself, talking trash, mentally, and then like, damn, like I'm doing this a lot. And then it didn't take long to where now, even this is 7-8 years later, if I even catch myself being critical of myself or more so others, even for one thought, I'm quick to say, stop it, Noel. Like that's just not, we're not going down that route. Like doesn't need to be a minute or an hour of thinking about it or a day. One thought is all that my mind is allowed to have when it comes, because I just know where that's going, and it's not how I choose to live. So now I say that's my greatest strength, is just caring about the present moment vibration and energy, because I just want to be at least at peace, because I know I can maneuver in the world, have conversations like these. If I'm there, I can hear the synchronicities and see the synchronicities and the good ideas. Like I'm connected. We all are, when we can at least be there. So I'm happy you brought that up. I point that out any chance I get to just know, because people hear me talking about all this stuff and say, "No, you're always in a good mood." I'm human too, but I care. It matters to me, like what my mood is. That's what I encourage everyone. If your vibe in the moment is the only thing that you can control, and that it is promised to any of us, is right here and now. If that's important to you, you'll pay attention, and do whatever you need to do to practice. It's just a practice. So
that's real. That's real. And you have the kind of energy. You're more like upbeat or whatever. So if you are in a quote unquote low vibration or low mood, it's easily detectable. You know what I'm saying? Because you're so, you're upbeat, for lack of a better word. So, people like that, you feed a lot of people. People feed off your energy. So I can understand that you probably have times where you just want to withdraw a little bit. Like I need some time myself, because people tugging on your energy. If you would, I can tell that.
I live alone, so anytime I want to like chill,
smart.
Smart. Yeah, anytime I want to just chill, relax, like it's done. And then when I'm posting all the stuff that you guys see out there on social media, I'm cooling out. I'm on my bed. Like that's coming from it's definitely I appreciate everything we're talking about in this conversation. You've teed me up several times, kindred spirits, like you said. Like you've teed me up some things I love sharing with the audience. Because we're all on this journey, and we're always going to be evolving. And this is how you started the conversation. Just once we could be open to what the universe has, what's next for us. Like we'll constantly have what we need when we need it. We don't. None of us need to know all the secrets of the universe, and we won't. Not in this one incarnation. That's for sure. So, but you'll have what you need.
Can. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were finished. Go ahead, bro.
Oh no, I said we'll have what we need when we need it, and that probably tees you up perfectly.
Yeah. Because like people, well, I noticed too that's a challenge, and this is just my conscious observation. If it doesn't apply to you, let it go. But a lot of people worry about the things they don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like you're worried. Like okay, I get that, but what about this? But you have everything you need to start. And the cliche adage is you take one step towards the Most High, you take 2 steps towards you or something like that, meaning that you have to start. A lot of people are waiting for help from the deities, the angels, your ancestors, whatever you want to call it, the universe. They're waiting on help, but you have enough to do whatever you can do right now. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't matter if it's starting a YouTube, meditate, business, wherever you are, whatever you have is enough to start, or you wouldn't have the ideal come to your mind. So another thing that I challenge the audience to do is, what can you do now? I wrote a book called Now Purpose Manual, and it's titled that for a reason. Not life purpose, because that's too grandiose, that's too big. Okay, what am I going to do the rest of my life? No, what are you going to do now? And the way I like to explain it, if you walk through a door, you notice that there's a room. And you explore that room, you find things, and then you get everything in that room, and you realize there's another door. So you go through that door, and there's another room. But you keep doing that, and eventually that's how you ascend. That's how you raise your consciousness, raise your vibration. Go through one door that leads to another door that leads to another door. This is a perpetual cycle until you transition, or what they call death. And then that's a whole nother reality within itself, and that gets very convoluted. Don't think we want to go there in this sit down.
The name of your book is the perfect reason why I don't really need to go there, and it's not necessary for me. For those that love going there, and it's awesome, like because we have people on the planet that's their biggest passion is just helping people connect with people on the other side, mediumship and all that. Awesome. I love how we're all drawn to different things, but the fact your book is called Now Purpose Manual, I love it because that's all I care about. When people ask me like, do you want to know, Noel, about what's going to happen after you go or what happened in the past? For me, I'm really excited to be here right now.
Yes.
So, what I do know is like our energy, our spirit is going to continue being, like it's not going to cease to exist ever. So that gave me all the peace that I need because whatever my spirit chooses to do once I leave this physical body, I know it's going to be awesome. Whether I come back and experience more life here on earth or do whatever in any dimension, it doesn't matter to me. I know I'll be, and that's how all of us will be. So, I'm already opening up the door, but I like to plant that seed anytime I can because that gave me so much peace to not fear death, and at the same time knowing that there's things that I really, really know that I'm here in this incarnation to share and to enjoy and experience, and so I feel like I'll be here for a while. But I'm not attached to how long that is, but I have some things that I'm gonna do, and I know you do too. Before we get out of here.
Yeah, that's real. And here's the thing too: people worry about their death, but they're dead every day. They live like they're dead. Sometimes the dead are living more than the living. That might seem paradoxical, but if you put your spirit to it, you understand what I'm saying. A lot of you watching this are already dead, physically, mentally, and spiritually. Just going through the motions, going to a job you hate, existing with a person you don't want to be with, just going through the motion. Are you really, truly living? Earth is a place for the living.
I love that. And for all you out there, that can change right now. Probably some information in Ali's book as far as Now Purpose Manual that will help with that change as well. I appreciate you, Ali, and this conversation it's been great. And I'm excited for people to now know that you're out there. I'm always excited to know that other beautiful souls are on this planet sharing and just living. Like you just highlighted just now. That's most importantly, just living, just being the light that all of us truly are. And for anybody out there, like that is always the best way that you can help another human being, help yourself, is just be the light that you truly are. And then someone else can look at you and be like, what are they so lit up about? And then they can realize that that's truly who they are as well. And you can inspire them to be their true light. And that's how all of us can just make this ripple effect. Whether you want to be a spiritual teacher or label yourself, anything out there, just wherever you are, whoever you are, be who you truly are, be that light, and you'll inspire and uplift everybody in your space, and the ripple effect can go, further than we can even imagine. So I appreciate this conversation a lot.
Indeed. Likewise. Very good. Especially like I said, to be honest, my reality hasn't changed much. I'm pretty much a homebody. I work from home. I have an online business, so I do everything from the camera, from the laptop. So pretty self-sustained and what I like to call sovereign, not really relying on any external forces or whatever. But during these times, it's good to have a sit down like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, actually, I want to do more podcasts and more interviews like this. It's fun. This is genuinely fun for me.
Me too.
Regardless of fame, notoriety, and everything. Like I said, I'm not moved by that. That's another thing I want to challenge people to do, is share things without needing that gratification and justification. Just sharing things that's really on your soul. I'll share something else, like building my YouTube platform, and like I said, I'll become the quote-unquote authority dealing with the ancestor altar and working with altar work or whatever. And once I shared all the information, my third book, Altar Magic Manual, is being edited now, and it'll be released here shortly. In that book and all the stuff I shared on my YouTube, there's really nothing else for me to share about the altar. I've literally said everything that I need to say, because the way I practice altar work is very simple. And I also say you can do it however you want to. There's no one set way of doing it. You feel me? So one of the things I was challenged by was talking about other things on my YouTube channel, because I knew a lot of people were subscribed because of the altar work. Once again, the Spirit told me it doesn't matter. Lose subscribers, it doesn't matter. But once I did that, what happened? I didn't lose any subscribers. If anything, I've gained more. You know what I'm saying? But even if I didn't, it didn't matter, because I'm sharing things that really resonate with me. I deal with self-mastery and self-God realization. Realizing that you're a God in human form. You're not the universal prime creator, but you're an extension of that. And I like to say you're a God in human form. So that's what I practice. So that's why I'd rather speak about all day, as opposed to something I've spoke about countless times, and it's already a history based on the internet of that dialogue or monologue.
I love it. You guys definitely want to go follow. If you're inspired to, definitely go connect with Ali on YouTube, on Instagram, everywhere where he is. Because this is what I know. Once I connect with someone, I can feel their energy and their vibe. Anything that you put your attention on, whether it be additional books like you're coming out with, or anything else, is going to be infused with the energy that you're feeling from this conversation. And it's just a great way for, what I've learned is anything our soul is like curious about or drawn to, like I follow it. Like I act on inspiration very quickly, because there's just something there for me to discover, something that's going to help me level up on my path, whatever you want to call it. And so definitely and highly encouraged for you guys out there to connect with Ali. And I'm happy to be connected with you now. And I'll affirm this is be the first, but not the last collaboration, co-creation, because this has been fun. I appreciate you coming and sharing your time and energy with us.
This same here, man. It's an honor. It really is. My big thing, people be like, thank you. And I'm saying outside of this platform, most times I get a lot of people saying thank yous on my YouTube. And I'm like, you're welcome. Like, it's an honor to share. Like, I'm on earth, you know what I mean? I'm sharing just things that I'm just sharing my life. And it resonates with people. So it's like, oh man, how can I look and put myself on a pedestal or think how big, you know what I mean? Just sharing things that I do. So it's an honor to share. It truly is.
Absolutely. You can feel that coming through the whole time. And for me, I just want to make sure everybody knows that there's no like special breed of human where only they have access to this, this, what we've been talking about this whole episode, this energy. This is just a different expression of it, all of us. So, but we all have access to it. So nobody's any better or worse. And, you're confident in that, and you can be humble in that too. And we could have a combination of that, of both. can go create anything, go enjoy life with any human that we want to enjoy life with, and we really feel what it means to be connected when we can have that, confidence and humbleness, knowing that we're just all different expressions. So,
wow, synchronicity, bro. That's one of my lines I tell people all the time. Because you, like, on the spiritual path, what I notice works best for me is having a certain level of confidence and certain level of humility. I preach that all the time to my students, really, not really publicly, but I'm like, you want to find that balance. And it's going to be different for everyone, where you're super confident, but yet super humble. You use those words exactly.
I love it.
True story.
That's awesome. It's been fun. Well, you guys out there, thanks for tuning in. Share this episode definitely with anybody that you're inspired to share it with. And I want to thank all of you guys that have been rating and reviewing and subscribing. You guys are making it easier for people to find all these episodes that I've been doing, and I'm going to continue doing them. And there's no rule against leaving multiple reviews either. So you can say, that human Ali that was flowing on there, really appreciate him. I'll screenshot it and I'll send it to him, make sure that he sees it. So, but appreciate everybody out there, and whether you're hearing this right now live or when this is released in a few weeks or 50, 100 years from now, just sending all sorts of love and vibes to all you guys, rooting for everybody out there. We're all connected in this, and regardless of what challenges may be going on now or anytime, like it's all for our good. Everything is working out for us, and we're all evolving from this place and being able to look at what's important to us. What is it that we want to create in our lives or for humanity? And for those of us that can focus on that and not put all of our attention on what's already been manifested, because that's already here. So now we get to ask, because of this, what is it that I now want to create and bring into reality? What new thing do I want to create? Those are the people that are going to keep creating and keep evolving and keep enjoying this life, and we don't have to be stuck on the things that are already in the past, basically, because it's already here. So the stuff going on in humanity right now is already here. So now what do we want to create, from here? And that's the question that I get to ask, and everybody out there gets to ask, and I'm excited for whatever the answer is that for you. So love it. I didn't explain on sharing all that just now, but it just came out. I got to share this before I get off. I love it. All right, you guys, we'll tune in with you. We'll tune in with you soon. I'll be doing a lot more of these live. I appreciate everybody, and we'll talk to you soon. Have an amazing day. That was fun, Ali. That was awesome.
Super fun.
I'm gonna stop the stream and then